Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online roll video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're taking a look at the Dark Paladin in its stamina damage dealer roll. This way you guys can see how it works, find out if you like it, and you can play it. So let's get to it. Taking a look at the class itself, we are a Dark Elf Necromancer, and we call it the Dark Paladin because of the way it works. It's more of a role-playing thing. As you can see, we have 64 points in stamina. That gives us a whopping 31,515 max stamina with a 26,186 max health, 21,000 max magicka, and we do have a 623 stam recovery. It's kind of low, not going to lie, but if you wanted to, you could improve it by changing your enchant in one of your jewelry, and you can raise it up to a higher value if you need to. Otherwise, you can use foods to do this. So we can actually use Dubious Cameron Throne if we need to, and that'll take us up to about a 982 stam recovery. We can get to about 1,000. We do lose max stam, max health, and our max magicka goes down, but that's fine because we're not using a lot of magicka abilities. You can see our weapon damage is coming in at 2555 on the front bar. On the back bar, it's 2127. We have a 50% crit on the back bar. On the front bar, we have a 45% crit. And our weapon damage gets to about 4k with everything. So we are using the Thief Mundus Stone. This is going to give us our highest critical value. We do have Venom Skull. We have Reusable Hearts, Major Sorcery, Soul Summons. That's from Because I Died. And we are using the Dubious Cameron Throne Food to give us a high recovery if we want it. It's not necessary. If you can get by without it, you can get by without it. We're going to go ahead and leave it as it is. Moving on to the gear. Now with this build, you're going to see that I'm playing fairly tank-wise, but it can still play a damage dealer. So the sets we're running are Thorvikins. This is going to be probably I wouldn't say the best option, but it's a really good option for this role, for being the Dark Paladin role. And the one piece gives you max health. The two piece, when you take damage from a nearby enemy, you summon a growing pool of desecrated bile for 8 seconds. Enemies take 548 damage or 606 disease damage every 1 second, and are afflicted with minor maim and minor defile for 4 seconds, reducing their damage done and healing received by X amount. Now we can go down here and you can see we are running Hunting's Rage. This is our primary stamina DPS set for this build. Now you can see we have 2-piece weapon critical, 3-piece max stamina, 4-piece weapon critical, and then the 5-piece adds weapon damage. So we have a lot of weapon damage from this set alone in critical, but the other set we're using is more of a magicka based set, and this is so we can play magicka role as well. This is just for when we're playing stamina, we use this. When we're playing magicka, we're taking advantage of this. So looking at our other stuff that we're using, we do have a maul, a two-handed weapon, and we have a one-handed or a two-handed bow. The traits on our gear are 3 invigorating. This is to increase our recovery rates for both stamina and magicka. We also have our smaller pieces with sturdy, so we have a greater ease at blocking incoming damage. And then moving on to the jewelry, we have tri-rune traits in the 2 rings. This is going to give us a good balance of health, magic, and stamina, so we can play all 3 roles effectively: tank, healer, and damage dealer. And then we also have a infused magic recovery, and this is where I was talking about, like, if you wanted to, you could change it out for a stam recovery if you wanted to. So this way you could get that higher stam recovery in there, but that's up to you. I'll leave that to you to decide. Alright, moving on now through the enchants on our gear. So we are using 3 tri-stats again, so we can play that more balanced of tank, healer, damage dealer when we need to. That's on the 3 big pieces. Now on the smaller pieces, we are using 2 stamina, 1 on the boot and the boots and the gloves, and then magicka on the belt and the shoulders. Now moving on to the jewelry, we are using a weapon damage enchant on one of them, a spell damage enchant, and then the final one we're using a mag recovery again. Moving on to the weapons. Our primary weapon we're using is an infused maul. with a frost damage enchant. This is so we can get that chilled status effect applied to enemies. So if somebody is like a tank is running an ice wall, we can help them with off balance. Or not off balance, but immobilizing them and keeping them in place. Moving on to, and it doesn't matter. You can use whatever enchant that reflects your playability more. So, on the bow, we are using an infused bow with a weapon damage enchant. This is how we can get that higher weapon damage and spell damage on our character if necessary. As you can see, it is also part of the rattle cage. So we are running rattle cage on the jewelry and the weapons, and the Hunting's Rage here, with Thorvikins in the shoulder and helm. The pieces, the way we have them set up, we are running a medium helm with a light belt. The rest of it is heavy. This is going to give us a greater resistance values. All right, let's move on to our skills. So taking a look at our skills, going through the class skills, take the class skills that are going to best reflect your ability to play the character the way you want. So that means if you want to be a healer, take the healing skills and take them in the order you want. If you want to be a tank, take the tank skills, take them in the order you want. Grave Lord skills, these are the damage dealing skills, take them in the order you want. Now moving on, two-handed. This is the primary weapon of choice that we're going to be using on our main hand. This is going to be so you can unlock these skills however you want. You can use them however you want. But when we get to how I have the skill set up, you guys will see why I have them set up that way and why I use them that way. So, all right, moving on to the other weapon, the bow. Make sure you unlock all the passives for these weapons and the skills so you can take advantage of them. I need to do something here. I need to swap that out. Armor skills. Light armor, you're going to want the top 3 passives so you can take advantage of the light armor passives with your character. Even though you're not playing Magicka based, you can still use it when you are using Magicka based. Medium armor, same thing. This is going to give you an advantage in taking effect to your character when you're playing stamina based. You can actually use the passive from here to increase your weapon critical. You can take advantage of this for the stamina recovery and the reduced stamina cost, and also the athletics with the reduced sprint cost and the dodge roll or movement speed. And then heavy armor, you're going to want to make sure you get all the passes because you are a heavy armor player. This is going to give you higher resistances with resolve. Constitution is going to give you more resources back when you get hit. Juggernaut's going to give you more health. Revitalize is going to give you more resources when you heavy attack. When you play a person that is in heavy armor, you have to heavy attack. That's how you get most of your resources back. You can't rely on resource management like magic recovery, stamina recovery, that kind of thing, unless you focus on it. And it can really detrimentally hurt the way you play. Rapid Mending increases your healing received by 8%. This just allows you to have that higher health pool and be able to heal for more. It's pretty good. World Skills, Soul Magic, Soul Summons, really good to have. This allows you to revive without a Soul Gem every 1 hour. And if you revive within that hour, it'll take a Soul Gem. Killing an enemy with a weapon ability has a 10% chance of automatically filling an enemy Soul Gem. Fighters Guild, make sure you fill up all the passives because you are going to be using some Fighters Guild skills and tools to help you with your damage output. Mages Guild, same thing. Psijic Order, you can fill out the skills you want to use that are going to best reflect you as a player. Thieves Guild, don't really need it. Undaunted, make sure you get the Undaunted passives, it's really important. And if you want the Undaunted skills, you can use them. You can take advantage of some of these. I want this one. So I'm gonna take advantage of it, and I can put it on my bar if I want to. That's my choice. Same thing with the Fighters Guild. I can also go in here and I can grab Trap Beast and put it on the back bar to help boost my weapon damage, or Rearming Trap, and replace it with the Venom Skull if I want to. That's also going to give me minor force. So we're going to go ahead and put that there, and we're going to leave this as the rest of it as is. Make sure you get the Undaunted passives. It's super important because this, for each type of heavy armor or piece of armor type you're wearing, you get 2% to your max health, stamina, and magicka. Since we're wearing 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium, we get 6% increase to all of our stats. Undaunted Command allows you to get synergies back better, and it gives you more resources based on which pools are higher. So as you can see, our stamina is higher than our health and magicka. We get more stamina back. And if somebody throws a mystic orb at us, we're going to get stamina back. And then we're going to get that plus this chunk of 1,197 as well. So, Alliance War, you can unlock Vigor if you need it. If you need a self-heal, you can put Vigor on your bar. It'll help you out. It'll help your group out. You can also put Razor Crowd Chops, which helps. And then, of course, over here you have some skills. Unlock the skills that are just going to reflect the way you play. Dark Elf, make sure you fill out all the passives. And then on crafting, Gourmand, or medicinal use and alchemy for that. And then in provisioning, Gourmand and Connoisseur. Alright, now let's go over the skills we have on our bar and how we play with this. So, starting with the first skill, we do have Wrecking Blow. This is going to be our primary spammable that we're going to use for damage output. This just is really powerful, and it also grants us Empower for our next light attack. So you're going to hit this, light attack, hit this, light attack. And then what you'll do is do Brawler, heavy attack, and then I'll show you in the rotation. Next ability we have is Brawler. We have this here because it does give us a shield. It does make us very tanky. It helps us if we're playing in a healer role to have a shield for ourselves so we can absorb damage, so we can stand up front and take a beating and keep ourselves alive. Reverse Slice, this is here mainly for an execute. We need an execute to do damage, and it's a really good one. It does a lot of damage to just not the main target you hit, but the other targets nearby. And then we have Unnerving Boneyard. This applies Major Breach and Major Fracture, increasing not only our DPS but our group's DPS because we can put this on multiple targets. It does do a little bit of frost damage, not a whole lot, but it's pretty good. Also, it consumes corpses on the cast to deal 20% more damage. And an ally standing in the graveyard can activate the synergy, which is good because that helps us have another synergy in the group. Next, we have Evil Hunter. We have this here for the major savagery only. This is to boost our weapon critical by 2191. We have Flawless Dawnbreaker. This is there mainly for damage ability and to boost our weapon damage by 5%. Moving on to the back bar, we have Rearming Trap. This is going to grant us major or minor force, increasing our critical damage. And as you can see, when triggered, we do damage up front and do damage over time, and it will reset itself, so we don't have to cast this a lot. Next, we have Venom Arrow. This is basically to set enemies off balance, but it does do damage up front and damage over time. Not as much as Poison Injection, but it still works. Next ability we have is Endless Hail. This is a great damage over time ability for anyone using a bow. It also helps you keep your uptime of the weapon damage enchant. It's great. Then we have our Skeletal Archer. We have this here to summon a Skeletal Archer who does damage every 2 seconds, dealing 2,234 physical damage. Each time the Archer deals damage, its next attack will do 10% more damage than the previous attack, and it creates a corpse on death. Then we have Evil Hunter. We have this here for major savagery, increasing our weapon critical by 2191. And then we have our last ability is Ballista. Ballista is a great ultimate because you can set it down and keep attacking and keep running your rotation, and it'll just fire for you and just does a ton of damage. Alright, so that is it for the skills. I'm going to go over the CP with this one first before I show you this on a parse and show you everything else about it. So taking a look at the CP, we have 66 in Ironclad. This reduces our damage taken from direct damage attacks by 22%. Moving on to the next one, Thick Skin, we have 31, reducing the damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. 56 in Hardy, reducing the damage taken from physical, poison, disease damage by 12%. And then 56 into Elemental Defender, reducing our damage taken from Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 12%. And then moving on over here, we have 40 in the Bastion. This increases the effectiveness of our damage shields by 16%. 19 into Quick Recovery, increasing our healing received by 5%. 2 into Heavy Armor Focus. This increases our physical resistance with Heavy Armor. This balances out our physical and spell resistance and puts them more equalized. Moving on over here, the reason I also have Bastion unlocked is because I do use shields a lot, even if I'm playing damage dealer, because you never know if you need shields or not. Like, it's just for one of those situations. If I'm struggling to get through content, I can use a shield to keep me alive. I understand I'm going to be losing an ability that's going to help me do DPS, but what's more important, me surviving or doing damage? Me surviving, because then I do more damage. Moving on to the green tree, we have 40 into Warlord. This reduces our break free cost by 16%. We have 16 into Sprinter, reducing our sprint cost by 10%. 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing our bash cost by 10%. And then moving on over here, we have 43 into Mooncalf. This increases our stam recovery by 10%. 75 into Tenacity, increases our magic and stamina return or fully charged heavy attacks by 14%. This is going to be more effective for us as with our damage dealing on resource management, and even as a tank or a healer. Resource management. Heavy armor, you get 25% resource return on fully charged heavy attacks. This is another 14%, and then you get a 30% baseline. So you get 55, 65, 69%, almost 70% return on your heavy attacks. So it's a lot of resources. 40% in tumbling, or 40 in tumbling, giving you 16% reduced dodge roll cost. 40 into Shadow Ward, reducing our block cost by 16%. Remember, we're using 4 pieces of sturdy gear. This is going to save us resources if we do need to block an attack. Moving on over here, we have 43 into Blessed, increasing our healing done by 10%. Now, you don't have to put into here. I do it mainly because if I have to use something like Vigor, for group purposes, if I need to use Vigor, I can actually take advantage of it. It's going to boost the healing of it. Or if I'm using the two-handed ability, Rally, to give me a self-heal if I'm solo playing. Alright. Moving on. Where was I? Oh yeah. I was in CP. So moving on to the middle tree here, we have 35 in a physical weapon expert. Remember, we're going to be doing lots of heavy attacks, so that's where we're going to get most of our damage output instead of light attacks, and this does boost our light attacks as well, since we're going to be doing a rotation that's going to be like it's going to be skill, light attack, heavy attack, or sorry, skill, light attack, skill, heavy attack. Since we're going to be doing that in our rotation, take advantage of that damage output you can get out of it. So that's where you get this, the 20% increase to light and heavy attacks with all melee weapons, all stamina weapons. Next, we have 56 in the Master at Arms. This increases our direct damage done by 20%. This includes our light and heavy attacks. Moving on over here, we have 56 in the Mighty, increasing our physical poison and disease damage by 12%. We have 40 into Precise Strikes. This increases our critical damage and critical healing done with stamina abilities by 16%. And we have 16 into Thaumaturge, doing the same thing, increasing our damage done with damage over time effects by 16%. And that is our CP setup. Now, let me go ahead and show you a quick rotation with this so you guys can see how it works. So we're going to start on the back bar, or on this bar. We're going to go to the weapon pots. We're going to make sure we have that active. We're going to throw our potion first, drop our Trap Beast, Poison Injection, Light Attack, Endless Hail, Light Attack, Skeletal, Light Attack, and then swap bars. That, Brawler, this again, and then we're going to drop this, and then you're going to want a Heavy Attack. Do your Trap Beast, do your rotation all over again. And then when you get to the front bar, focus on your heavy attacks. There you go, 15,000 DPS with that. Just so you guys can see, 15,000 DPS, and that's without any boosts from any groups or anything like that. This is running the Thief Mundustone. The reason we're using the two-handed maul is to increase our penetration. As you can see, we have 9,939 physical penetration. That's without any benefits. That's just using the maul itself. We have 3,600 weapon damage, which is pretty good for this heavy armor setup. We also have a 50% critical, 46% normally, 50% more on the bow bar. And as you can see, it works out pretty well. And if you're in a group, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to attack this skeleton to show you what it would look like if you were in an organized group. Somebody can play this build better than I can. I promise you that. So let's drop the potion. We're going to do the Trap Beast. The same thing that we did before. But we're going to actually take advantage of this with the synergies, everything. Oops. And as you can see, we're actually pulling almost 30k DPS with this. That's more than enough to do dungeons and trials. And I just wanted to show you guys that so you could see for yourself. Now, let's go take a look at it in a dungeon environment as soon as I can travel. The reason I'm going to show you this in a dungeon environment is because I want you to see how effective it can be as a damage dealer. Now remember, I probably will die because I don't have tools to keep myself alive, so I might switch out some of my tools to show you more effectively how I can play this build and be a greater group player with it. And all I need to do is swap out one ability, really.
Your notes set up, Dan. As in, no one left alive inside.
Take it to the Imperial census.
Lady Light, keep us from darkness.
Alright, so I died. But you guys get the idea. I actually did pretty decent DPS there. I was doing 24,000 K DPS on those guys. That's not bad for trash, okay? But it's mainly when you want to focus on a single target like a boss, and that's where this thing can really pick up its DPS, and especially in an organized group where there's major fracture, major breach, there's all the other tools being used by the group. You can really take advantage of this dynamic play. But that is pretty much it for the Dark Paladin Stamina DPS build. If you guys want to know how to play this thing as a solo build, it's really simple. All you have to do is change out a few skills, and you can take advantage of it as a solo build, and it actually works out quite well. And the two skills you got to change out are pretty much on the front bar. I'm going to show you guys this yourselves so you guys can see. You just go in here to Guild, you go to Undaunted, grab Bone Shield, you're going to drop it right there, and then you're going to go back to the two-handed. You're going to grab Rally, and you're going to drop Rally right here. And this is going to give you the ability to solo play with this build if you want. And yes, you can even take on all the baddies you want, and it works out really well. You can even play it solo with a Magicka build. I think I showed that with the Magicka gameplay. Now, it's not going to be great for soloing dungeons and like veteran DLC dungeons, but you could solo a lot of the base game dungeons pretty well. There you go. But yeah, you can solo with it. It's a really fun build to play. I really like the Dark Paladin, and I just wanted you guys to see how it works. But that's it for the video, again, and moving on now from this. You guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button if you guys want to see more videos by me. You can subscribe. I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.